Yo, good day, and welcome to another episode of the RoadFS Podcast.
We are your lovely hosts. I'm Puzey.
And I'm Jody Sedrick. Still, isn't that what you always say? I'm still Rod. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, we always have so much fun doing this podcast. We get the opportunity to meet with some amazing people, both detailers, business owners, suppliers, vendors. Sometimes we even get to meet with customers that have been with us a super long time. And I'm telling you, this is probably one of my favorite people in the world, our guest today. His name is Sam Laguerre. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited, man. I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Yeah, no, we're excited.
I was telling Jody the other day, I'm like, I can't believe we haven't had Sam on yet. I mean, maybe we just wanted to keep him for ourselves.
That's right, man. Got him in this little corner, So
I've been wanting this forever. I've been telling Jody about this, and he's just been holding off on me. He's been holding back.
I've been holding you back, man. Sorry.
Give the people what they want, Jody. Give the people what they want.
That's right. I know. It's like they all want Sam, man, and daily duty automotive detailing. So yeah, so let's go back because you and I, it's funny because as you and I have interacted over the years, I discovered that you're actually from Haiti. And my two adopted children are from Haiti. So I feel a real kinship to you just because of that connection. So let's talk about kind of how you started daily duty auto detailing. And let's just start there. And then let's see where the conversation takes us.
Yeah. So actually, my parents are from Haiti. I'm from Fort Myers, Florida. But both of my parents are Haitian. But it's actually crazy because, I never even wanted to be, a detailer. I never, even thought about cleaning cars. In fact, I hated cleaning cars. And it was actually an accident that I actually, got into the detailing space, and I'll kind of, share with you how that happened. So, prior to ever detailing, this was like 10 years ago, I was a server, and one of my buddies who was working there at the time, one of my best friends, he had got let go. And, I didn't see him for a while. And, just one random day, I was in the club, and, I don't club anymore, but I was in the club and I seen him popping bottles, and, he was looking like, he was living life. So I go up to him and I'm like, yo, like, how's everything been? What are you doing for work? And he's like, yo, like, I'm a detailer now. And at the time, I didn't even know what detailing was. A lot of people don't even know what detailing is.
Right.
And so I was like, it looked like you're doing good for yourself. Like, how much you guys charging? And he tells me he's making like $18 an hour. Like, he's just like, he's gassing it up. And I'm like, yo, are you guys hiring at the time? And he's like, yeah. So I fill out an application. I get the job a week later. And turns out he was making $8 an hour. So like, I'm like, dude, why didn't you just tell me like you were getting $8 an hour? But he was just trying to flex. And that's pretty much how I got into, detailing, just off of, him telling me something that I guess was gonna, impress me. But, those first 2-3 years that I was detailing, $8 an hour, like it was brutal. It was slavery. There was no shade. We were working, in direct sunlight, car washes all day. And I absolutely hated it. And the only reason why I was doing it is because, I was going to school at the time. I don't like the job hop. They were very flexible with my job. And, I was planning on moving to Orlando. So like, I wanted to at least get the experience. So when I do move, like I can find a job. And, once I got my degree, I transferred to Orlando. And when I got here, I looked everywhere for a job except for detailing. I did not want to do detailing. I've had like 5 different interviews, and I feel like, all of the people that were interviewing me, they loved me. They loved everything about me. But for whatever reason, I could not get a job. And, I prayed about it one day, and, like God was like, yo, go to the dealership. I was like, I don't want to do that.
It's like Jonah. I don't want to go to Nineveh, man.
You can see at the top of his job application, recent graduate, outgoing. I will do anything but detailing.
Yeah,
big bolts.
And so, like, I was out of work for maybe 2 months, and I was like, all right, cool. Let me just go to this dealership. The first dealership I went to, I talked to the manager there, and he basically gave me the job on the spot. And like I was kind of like, man, this is kind of crazy. So like maybe there must be something here. So I did that for I started working, and I did that for about maybe a year and a half, and I got promoted in the company, and eventually I became the detailing manager at the Ferrari location here in Orlando.
Nice.
And I mean, working at this Ferrari location, I mean, you're seeing Ferraris, Lamborghinis. I mean, I see every type of exotic car there is. And my buddy who was working there at the time, he was like, yo, Sam, like, you do a really good job. You should, start a detailing business. And, I was 23 at the time. I didn't know anything about business. I mean, I was in school for accounting, but like starting a business and going to school for accounting is two different things. And he planted that seed in my head, and like it just sat there, and I was like, I'll think about it. And one day, it's crazy. This is where it gets crazy. So one day, I called my boss, and I wanted to get an opinion on starting a detailing business, because like after detailing Ferraris, you got to do something else. Like there's like what's next? And I called him and I asked him, I was like, what do you think about starting a business? And he laughed hysterically. Like I told him it was the most disrespectful laugh I ever heard in my life. And to this day, like it like still sits in my ear, because I was so convinced that he was gonna give me words of encouragement, because that's my boss. Granted, that wasn't his personality, but again, like it's hard to discourage somebody when they have a dream. And he was telling me all the reasons I wasn't gonna make any money, I wasn't gonna get anywhere in life. And I literally, we got done with the conversation. I hung up and I planned my 2-week notice. And, I didn't have a blueprint. I didn't have any customers. I didn't have any equipment. I didn't have anything. And I basically just quit my job. And I was like, you know what? Like, no one's going to tell me what I can't do. Because I was that mad about, the situation. And, I quit my job. And that's how I started, my business. So that's how it all started.
That sounds kind of familiar.
That sounds a lot like me. There's a gentleman that's in the detailing industry that 15 years ago looked at Jody and I and told us why we should. This was when we first started. You should never do this. You're never going to make any money. You're not going to do anything. I was like, and that sat right here. It's still there. When I see him at Mobile Tech Expo and I shake his hand, that's the first thing I'm thinking of. I'm thinking, hey, brother, I've been here for 15 years. What do you think about that?
Yeah. It's
That's funny, because the thing that I remember is when we left our old software company and we created Zenware and RoadFS, I got a mysterious email from happy you're gonna lose at gmail.com.
Yep.
That said, really hate to see you guys go. You suck, and see you in the unemployment line in 6 months.
Yeah. And we've been in business way longer than they have, and then they went out. So I think it's interesting the kind of those little things that set us off, but then you turn that into something positive. So now you've been doing this for over 10 years, and you are. I mean, let's complete the rest of the story. What is it you guys do? What do you specialize in? And
so when I started the company, we just focused on mobile services. So it was just me by myself, and just building that clientele. Basically, I went on I think it was a Craigslist ad, and there was a company that was looking for detailers, and that they would provide, the work, as long as, the detailer had experience and all the equipment and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I started building my clientele. And, I stayed with them for about a couple of years until I felt like, I had enough customers. And then, obviously with those customers, I also, got referrals and all those type of things. So I started out mobile, and then I would say maybe 4 years into that, I had a customer with the Seminole Toyota location up here in Sanford. And, one of the collision managers at the time, he had reached out to me, and he was like, man, like, we love your work. What do you think about, just running our detail department? And, like, I love the dealership space, because I understand, for one, how much money, how much opportunity there is, but also like I seen an opportunity to, grow a team. And, when it comes to leadership, that's kind of like, what our business is based on. And the reason for that is because, when my boss did tell me that I wasn't going to be successful, I decided that moment that I wouldn't run a business and tell my employees that they couldn't do something. And, I always, wanted to empower them to be able to do certain things or whatever it might be. And, a lot of these detailers, they're not going to be here forever. And I understand that. And so I want to make sure that while they are working with us, that they are, getting value from me, and I'm able to help them as much as possible. And if someone's like, hey, I want to start a business, all right, great. Like, what can I do to help? And so, that's why we're based on like a leadership based company, but that's how we got into the dealership space. And now, I had to take a pause on the mobile side of it, only because there's just so much, work that goes into training guys and hiring. I mean, you guys understand that part of it, but
Yeah.
I definitely want to get back into the mobile space, but I just want to make sure that when I do, that it's, something that, I can spend a lot of my focus on.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that there's another parallel there, and that's when Jody and I and our other partners started this software company, we made a list of the things that we didn't want to do, that bosses and managers we'd had prior to this did, and we're like, we're not going to be that guy or that guy. We're not going to discourage people.
Right.
We're going to be more of a family, oriented business, and that is, that's been our kind of our mantra.
It's a core value.
And I think that's the thing is, if you take that into your business and you realize that they're just people, and it's not all about, it's about building relationships and being a good person, and then the income and the revenue will come from that.
I think one of the things that I have a lot of respect for you, especially as a young entrepreneur, and this mindset of building your team. Because if you go out to his Instagram, you will see Sam and his team having discussions about books that they're reading and about business and about self-improvement. So you're really investing not only in your team, but you're creating an environment in which your team invests in each other.
Right.
So talk about that, because I'm sure that gives you a lot of power. Absolutely. As a team, working together, but also in better serving your customers.
Right. So, one of our, core values is, culture. And, the culture of, what we're trying to build is, we want to have a growth environment. We want guys to be able to know that when they come to work, that, there's, you're going to grow, whether it's personally, spiritually, mentally, whatever it might be, that's kind of our core value. And, to be honest, within any culture, in any business, any company that you work for, a lot of times the reason why people stay with the company is because of the culture. And, it's not about how much money you're making. Yeah, money is important, obviously. But, I know a lot of people that would give up a job that would pay more to stay with the company that they're with because of the people they work with. And, also another thing is, the thing that a lot of people starve for is growth. Because, you go to all these different jobs and, what are you really learning? Like, what is your boss really, empowering you to do? And when you feel a sense of, okay, my bosses actually care about me, my bosses actually want to see me succeed. My bosses, they're very successful and they want to, pass on, the knowledge that they have. Like, there's a lot of power in that. And, people want to grow. That's the light that a lot of people, are kind of, they're a lot of people's light is dim is because, they're not growing. So when you feel that sense of growth, and I understand that now, people want to stay, people want to grow. And that's how you build a strong knit culture where, a lot of my guys, man, I've been blessed with, I feel like one of the best teams I've had, since I've detailed with, guys that are knowledgeable, guys that, are loyal. It's a phenomenal team. And, I'm actually getting, certified next month in John Maxwell's leadership program. And, that's one of the main things that we focus on, again, is leadership, building systems, building processes, because, we have a team of about 25 people right now. And, to be able to lead 25 people, and you got to have a system, you got to have the processes. Otherwise, the quality is not going to be what it needs to be. just everything that comes along with that. And, we're definitely, we're not perfect. There's a lot of areas we're still working on. There's a lot of things that I'm still working on, personally, like learning the business. I don't have any mentors. Like no one taught me how to get to this point. No one really showed me what a successful detailing business looks like. A lot of it is just, me watching podcasts like these, that are valuable to me, and just, listening to motivational speakers, leadership podcasts, just a lot of things that really empower me and help me grow. And that's how, and I kind of just pass the knowledge and information on to, to the guys.
I think one of the things that I really appreciate with you too is about once a year, you call me out of the blue.
Right.
And you're like, hey, Jody, I just wanted to talk to you about some things about business. I wanted to run some ideas by you. What are your thoughts? What have you done here? What would you do here? And I really love that, right? Because like you said, as an entrepreneur, it is difficult to find mentors, somebody that's willing to give of their time and their insight and experience. Right. And you are so hungry for it. It's like you're always like, all right, where can I look? Who can I ask? Right. And I really appreciate that, because I know that attitude is one of the things that's leading your success, and it's leading your team.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was going to comment on is there's kind of two sides of the camp in detailing. And one of those is the people that embrace both the dealership side and the retail side. And then there's the side that absolutely rejects the dealership side. They don't think there's any money in it. And I'm telling you, there is a lot of money in there. There's a lot of stuff you can do, and it's steady work. That's the thing. Right. It's constantly steady work. And yeah, it has ups and downs and all that kind of stuff. But if you get into a dealership and you get in, and just like you do, you treat your employees and you treat your dealerships with the respect, and you grow with them, they'll keep you in there. And we know so many people that have made an unbelievable living, unbelievable chunks of money out of the dealership world.
Absolutely.
And it is because of the steady work of it, and you can take, especially, this has been my whole thing. The thing is, if you work at a dealership and, Mr. and Mrs. Jones come in and they buy a car, and you do it for the dealership, you can get the dealership to refer you once they leave there, and Mr. and Mrs. Jones can become your retail customer forever.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the thing, is getting those systems in place and handling how you transition that from the beginning all the way through the lifetime of that vehicle. And I think if more people looked at it as the lifetime of that vehicle, and this is my customer, what's the next car you're going to get, and the next car you're going to get? Because that's the thing, is everybody's going to have another car. We all get cars all the time, right? So 3 to 5 years.
Especially Rod.
Yes, it is true. I'm on car number, I think it's 54. I've had 54 cars.
Really
seriously. I am on, I currently have, I have 5 that I own, and then my daughters own 2 more, but I own 5 right now.
So what, 2 of them are Ferraris, I'm assuming?
One of them is a Porsche 911 Carrera convertible.
It's sweet.
I have a 1957 Chevy pickup, and I have a 1955 2-door Bel Air, and then I have a 2019 Atlas and a 07 diesel pickup.
Yeah. I need to get my game right. I need to step up. Like
I've been very lucky, and I've done a lot of stepping up, if you will. That's how I've got to where I've gotten. I constantly make money on cars, and then I buy new ones.
Well, and I think there's an important lesson in that, right? Continually stepping up, whether it's in a personal interest in a hobby, or stepping up in your game. And I know you're a huge fan of LeBron James, right? I mean, we got it in the background, right?
Yeah.
And, it's like, I look at everything you do, and we were visiting with you and your partner at Mobile Tech Expo. And the one thing that every conversation is what is one thing or 2 things that I can do to improve my business at this show or during this year? I mean, you're very strategic about trying to go, all right, how do I grow?
Yeah. And I'm very intentional with that as well, because, the more that I'm in this business, like I truly feel like, I'm in my calling, and it's not about cleaning cars, but it's about, leading men and women. And, I feel like, I'm transitioning a lot more into like the coaching space, whether it's like leadership coaching or life coaching. And, because I feel like that's part of my calling, I just have this hunger to want to grow because, the more that I grow, the more that I can help somebody else. Like, you can't help someone if you can't help yourself, right? You can't
Yeah.
Yep.
from an empty cup. And so I want to make sure that, a lot of the things that I know that need to be addressed, like I know, guys like you and, there are other people who have that knowledge, who have been in this space a long time. You talk to a lot of, wise people. So I would rather, learn from you guys than figure it out the hard way and, waste time. And, that's really what it's about. A lot of people just, they don't ask a lot of questions or whatever it might be. And, I try to be as strategic as possible because, I do have a vision for where I want to go, what I want to do and how I really want to get there. So it's really calculated. Like even, going back to the dealership space, transitioning from mobile to dealership for me, it was very simple because my vision was always to get dealership accounts. So, when I was in the mobile space, I didn't get too caught up in, can you be at my house every 2 weeks or, can you come every, once, like I didn't get too caught up in that because once you fall into that trap, you don't become very flexible. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so now I actually have a partner who does take care of a lot of my clients, who do need, work done from time, from every now and then. But I was able to make that transition because, I allowed myself to be flexible. But again, you got to have the vision. Like if you don't have a vision for getting to the dealership space, it's gonna be almost, I don't want to say impossible, but it's gonna be hard because you have a lot of clients that really depend on you that only want you. You know how that is very tough, and it's a completely different skill set to be able to lead people and to be able to handle the workload that the dealership demands, and just dealing with salesmen and sales managers. Before I started the business, because I had the experience of at working at these dealerships, I kind of already knew what I was getting myself into. Yeah. And it's not something that I was afraid of. But what's crazy is, so when I was in the field, right, when you're detailing cars, you're out there for 7, 8, 9 hours a day. You're by yourself. A lot of people listen to music to kind of like allow the time to go by. 8 hours a day, I was listening to, Eric Thomas, Les Brown, Jim Rohn, like all these leadership guys, podcasts. And you can imagine, like, when you're listening to this stuff 8 hours a day for 3-4 years, every single day, that's why I have, the knowledge that I have. And that's why I have the skill set that I have, is because I wasn't wasting that time listening to, Lil Baby and Drake and Kendrick Lamar. And, there's a time for that. And, I did have days where, I needed a little bump, but for the most part, I knew like, these guys, they're putting me on game where if I could just apply what they're saying into my business, then it changes everything. So again, like a lot of that, those 3-4 years of me just downloading that information, it kind of like really set me up for success. And I didn't know why at the time, obviously, but looking back at it, like it was all like, God's plan of just, getting me to this point.
Go ahead.
The other thing I think that's got to be said here is there is a certain massive amount of humility and humbleness that you have. And I think that is missing from people. I feel like just as a businessman, as a human, if I'm so busy flexing all the time and worrying about this outward appearance,
$18 an hour,
I am literally blocking all of that stuff that I can take in. Yeah. Physically. I'm just physically and mentally blocking it. I'm so busy strutting around talking about how bad I am that is something. And you obviously don't have that. Somebody can meet you for 5 minutes and see that you are humble and you are open and ready to receive that information. Yeah. And I think people don't get that. Yeah. They make that first big paycheck and man, they're on top of the world and they just don't see that humbleness. Jody and I, we learn every day. Right. We take everything that could be a failure is just a way to learn. Well, we learn not to do that again. And sometimes it hurts, but you have to be open to that feedback. And I think that humbleness and just being open to learning is it's not really, it's frowned upon. Right? Everybody thinks you got to flex, and you don't. That's not what's important.
Well, I think the thing that really strikes me is that you are very intentional about feeding your mind and your heart with things that will drive success, right? We underestimate the time that we spend in our mind, right? What do we put there, right? Are we protective of it? Are we putting things in our mind and our spirit that are moving us and driving us forward?
Right.
So since we're there, what are your maybe favorite podcasts and maybe a book that you're reading right now that you think would be really helpful to other business owners?
So I would say one of my favorite podcasts right now. I mean, I don't really have a favorite because all podcasts, they give you different type of value, right? Whether it's a detailing podcast, a leadership podcast, a relationship podcast. But one of the key things that's really anchored me is, believe it or not, like I listen to a lot of sermons, and it feeds my spiritual growth, because one of the keys to being humble is understanding, like, you didn't get yourself here, all right? God got you here. And when you realize that God's given you everything and he can take it away tomorrow, it really keeps you humble, because I mean that's what anchors me, and I've been through a lot over the last 10 years, and I've seen so much to where I know that I didn't get myself here. Like, I'll give you an example. So when we got the account with the collision center at the time, so the collision center is connected to the sales and service department, and this was the end of 2019 when I got the account. And I talked to the GM and I was like, hey, look, since we're getting the collision center, just give us the service and sales department, allow us to run the entire dealership. And he was like, nah, you guys are kind of small. You're not really ready for this workload. And in my mind, I'm very optimistic. I'm like, yo, I can make it happen. I can do the work. Like, it's not a problem. I've been doing this for a long time. And he was just, very hesitant. So they hired another detailing company to, service the sales department. And, I was frustrated at the time because I was like, man, like, what do we got to do to get in? But, I trusted the process. I trusted God. And again, this was at the end of 2019. So we know what happens in 2020, right? COVID comes, and it literally knocks out all the inventory and sales and service. And, they weren't selling as many cars. The detailing company at the time was actually, not doing, they weren't doing what they should have been doing. Like their reputation wasn't what it was. And they were like, hey, look, this company's not doing too great. The inventory is kind of low right now. Your company is small, but you have an opportunity to grow with us. So we got that opportunity because of COVID. And that was one of our best years yet. And again, looking back, if I forced my hand to get that account in 2019, when COVID came, it would have knocked me out. So like, God had a plan. He already knew that we were going to be in there. I just had to trust the timing of it. And, that's just one story that like I can look back on and say, man, like God got me through a lot. And, even in that season, like I thought it was over for us. Like, we thought the world was coming to an end. And, I was like, like there aren't any collision cars because no one's driving, no one's getting in accidents. So there was no work for us. And right when our back was against the wall, like the used car manager came over and he's like, yo, are you guys ready? And, like we got blessed. So again, it's just, being humble and, understanding that like God's got me this far and I just got to keep riding this wave, man.
I love that story because it reminds me of one of my favorite books. It's called The Hiding Place, written by Corey Tenenbaum. Her family in World War II were actually hiding Jews and trying to keep them safe from Nazi Germany. And when she was young, there was an event that happened and she was grumbling about it to her dad. And her dad said, don't worry about it because it is God's preparation for a future only he can see. And years later, her and her sister were put in the concentration camps because they were helping the Jews. and they got transferred into a different area. And when they went in the first night, they're laying in these bunk beds that have 4 ladies across. They're all stacked in. And first thing she does is lay down, and all of a sudden she starts getting eaten by fleas.
Right.
And she's like, oh gosh, there's no way I can sleep here, man. This is horrible. When's God going to answer my prayers? When he's going to walk with me? All that just started unloading. And the sister goes, be thankful for the fleas. There's a blessing. There's a purpose in them. She's like, there's no purpose in fleas. This blah, blah, just goes off. Right.
Right.
Well, months later, she gets put into this area where she's sewing, making uniforms for the Nazi soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And in that environment, she learns that the Nazi soldiers were not willing to go into that women's barracks and be inappropriate with the prisoners because of the fleas.
Right.
And I love that. It's kind of a similar kind of story, right? It's like moving with faith and purpose and all those things. And I love that, it's such a core person of yours, right? And there are people that, they don't necessarily have the same relationship or drive, and that's okay, right? It's having a vision. Like, I love that you have a vision, right? And you're like, you never lost sight of it. And it's tough because when you have those experiences that go counter what you're hoping for, you go, why, man, dude, we have everything ready. But what I've learned is that a lot of times those opportunities aren't given to you because you're not prepared for them as a team.
Right.
And I think it's the key is what you said is no matter what you're following, you're trusting the process and you're staying true to what your goal is. And instead of becoming that overly emotional and throwing your hands in the air and getting mad at that service manager for not giving you opportunity, which would have been the worst possible scenario.
Right.
You just hung with it and you were like, okay, well, we'll take it. We're going to take the collision center. And then when somebody else was unable to do it, you got the opportunity. And I think that's the key to this whole thing is Jody and I this year alone, we had a very similar experience in 2020. 2019 was a good year for us. And then 2020 started and we were having a great year. And then of course, 2020 hit. And from March, April, and May, we lost over 35% of our people as far as customers. It looked like it was the end of the world for us. And then June came around and it was phenomenal. We actually grew by over 20%.
Right.
And we did that in the last 9 months of the year. I mean, you think about the phenomenal things that happened in this industry. And I think that overall, if you can take anything good away from 2020, it was that people realized that they need to clean and sanitize their vehicles. They need to pay more attention to just ongoing maintenance. And so I think that was a blessing for everybody.
Right.
But I also think that the big thing is how you look at it. And I mean, you personally and us personally of how we look at the opportunities that are placed in front of us. Next week, Jody and I have an opportunity to go to California, and we're going to visit with at the Peterson Auto Museum, and there's a lot of people that that get on Jody and I because they're like, you guys don't promote your software enough, you don't push yourself, and we're like, we're just there to promote other people, we're there to support it, we're there to be a sponsor, and we're to help. We're there to elevate somebody else, impact. And that brings business to us. That's what it's about for us. And when people go, well, I don't know if you're going to make it. And I go, well, the last 15 years are any indication, it surely is going to work out good for us. So.
Still going to be around.
And I love what you guys are doing, man. Like, again, I look for podcasts that are relevant to me. And like, I can't really think of any other detailing podcasts. You know what I mean? And there are I know a ton of detailers and just a ton of companies that, they have stories to tell. They have, they have a voice. And, being able to just turn on a podcast and listen to someone that's going through something very similar that I am, like it's a blessing because there's not a lot of people that, is going down the road that I'm going down. It's very hard to meet people who are there's a lot of mobile detailers, but there's very few that are actually in the dealership space. And, like the days that, I'm going through it and, I need someone to vent to, a lot of people just don't understand. I actually have a buddy up in Detroit who's going, he's in the dealership space as well. So like he's someone that, God just put in my path to be able to talk to and be able to kind of he's really my brother. But outside of him, is not many people that are, on this path. And, when you go on these podcasts and even someone who's doing something very similar, it's just, it reinvigorates like what I'm trying to do. And just, it's encouraging to be able to hear that, okay, there are other people that are, going through, similar things. And, like these podcasts, like a lot of people are, especially, at the beginning of 2020, a lot of people have started podcasts and, a lot of people have a voice, and, being able to be on this platform is a blessing. Cause like I said, I've been waiting for this moment for a while. So I'm extremely prepared, but, I just love what you guys are doing, man. I just want to continue to encourage you guys to, just keep going, man. Just keep going. This is going to be bigger than what you realize it is.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah,
We have a good time doing it, and it's really, our driver is to have an impact on people's business, by having great conversations like this. So before we wrap up, looking back, what are one or two things that you've learned that you think would be beneficial for other business owners to implement either in their own life or in their business?
I think probably one of the most important things is, looking into like some type of coaching, whether it's, life coaching, personal development. And the reason I say that is, John Maxwell, one of his laws is the law of the lid. And it basically states that, the organization can only grow to the level of its leadership. So if you have, if you're a level 3 leader, you can only have a level 3 or maybe even a level 2 organization. But if you are a level 10 leader, your organization can be a level 9 or a level 10. So a lot of times, businesses and small businesses, they cap themselves off. They can't grow anymore because they haven't grown. And, once you realize that, you are the reason why your business isn't growing, you are the reason why you aren't making more money, you are the reason why you're not attracting more customers. Once you've acknowledged that, and, you seek that knowledge, you seek that wisdom, and you actually apply it. Because, I mean, you can get all the knowledge and wisdom, but then you have to actually apply this. You have to be more disciplined. You have to be more focused. You have to make those sacrifices, right? So once you, decide that, I want to be a better leader, even if it's just a one-man show, like lead yourself, right? Do the things that you say you're going to do, live by integrity, right? Do the things that, you should be doing when no one is watching. And, that's one of the main things that I live by. And, once you apply that key principle, your entire life will change, not just business. I mean, your relationships will change. Your work life will change. If you've got kids, like you'll be a better parent. So, you grow yourself and everything around you. Like, I don't want to say magic because I do believe in God, but it's almost magical. Like everything changes. So that's just one thing that that just comes to the top of my mind.
Yep. And for me, I'm going to throw one out there, which I don't usually do, but I just think humility. Stay humble and stay hungry for knowledge. Absolutely. Because if you constantly want to learn something and you're always taking in, I learned something today. I learned something today. I learned something today. There is no way you can't be successful, because you are going to pick up on all of the little cues that you're learning from certain people. Why did so-and-so do that? Oh man, they really picked up on that. That's a good idea. Let's do that. And I think that is the key, is just stay humble and stay hungry for knowledge.
Absolutely.
Man, well, I really appreciate you taking the time. That little nugget you shared today, I think that was meant for me. And I just want to thank you for, coming on our show, being a great customer over the years. We really appreciate you. And guys, if you're in Orlando and you need a great detailing company, either on the retail side or dealership side, you got to check out Daily Duty Auto Detailing. How do people connect with you?
So all of my information is on my social media, Instagram, Daily Duty Auto Detailing. I don't spend too much time on social media. I was actually fasting from social media last year just because of the distractions, the comparison, all that stuff. I just really wanted to focus on myself and focus on, my team. But if you want to reach out to me, I believe my phone number is on there as well. And, we don't serve just Orlando. Like if you are in the surrounding areas, we could definitely make something happen as well.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, if you guys haven't already followed him, go follow their stuff. If you meet him in person at MT or any of the things, he's a great human. I mean, he's one
awesome.
Of the, salt of the earth. So thank you very much. And we will see you guys all next week.
But it won't be on Thursday. It will not be Thursday. It will be Sunday and Monday.
Yeah.
The 26th, 27th. We have something really exciting with Rigo Santana and the Sonax team.
Yep. We're going to be on the road and we're going to be doing some stuff live. So tune in, subscribe, and come check it out.
See ya.
See ya.